Good morning everyone, and welcome back to the Gunners Guild. I wasn't going to make a video about the Iceborne beta since there's just a lot of speculation of what is or is not going to be permanent changes to the game, but I can't tell myself. I'm going to preface this by saying I know I was very negative towards the weapons trailer videos, but the beta has me sold. I was wrong, so shit on me, whatever, it's good. So let's dive in. First, let's go over some of the UI and some general info. Now, when you put your ammo or any other crafting items into your radial menu, you have the option now to put a craft all button in there. So no more matching is required. You can just one push craft all the ammo or items you need. So that's pretty sweet. You can delete loadouts now, thank God. Prior, you would need to equip a weapon or armor to a slot, save it, sell the item to remove it from the loadout, and that was just way too clunky. So thankfully we could just R3 to delete loadouts now. There are many more options for the UI and controls with even faster camera and aim settings, like super fucking fast, like too fast even for me, and I play at 8400 DPI. The half of the map that we have is straight up gorgeous, by the way. It's certainly a big map, but it's nowhere near as confusing and dense like the Ancient Forest is, which is great. I know we only have half the map and the rest of it's going to be in the actual game, but so far it looks pretty dang good. The snow tracks in the map are a really nice touch, and it doesn't seem to affect performance at all, which is great. I'm on a PS4 Pro, and I didn't see any frame drops at all while fighting Bherma in the snow with all the tracks and the snow he was flinging around and all that stuff. I was expecting it to cause a little bit of problems or frame dippings, but I had nothing. Also, the load times are pretty fast. I know it's just a beta, but going in and out of resets was painless. I also did put an SSD in my PS4 Pro though, so that may be it. If anyone else has issues with bad load times, let me know, but ultimately it's great on my end. Alright, so let's get into the monsters. So the monsters themselves are also fantastic. Well, Phemeto is just another fish, so I mean, you know, he is his own monster, but he just feels like another fish, so I'm not really excited for Phemeto at all. Bomboro is great though. I thought he was just going to be another brute wyvern like Joe, but no. He's fast, he's got all sorts of projectiles and junk to pick up. I like him. I get that he's a lower rank monster, kind of like Anjanath, but he was a lot of fun to fight. Now, speaking of Anjanath, I didn't really fight him in the beta, but I did encounter him a few times during the Nargacuga quest, and I love his G rank moves. So that bite attack he does, where he kind of slams his jaw into the ground and then drags it forward, yeah, well, he can do turns with that now. It's pretty damn scary. I was totally shocked the first time I saw it. He's also got a new charge move when his mouth is full of fire, which is pretty cool. Alright, Tigrex. Tigrex is Tigrex. He move, he scoot, he charge, he bite. He's definitely Tigrex. He does have some questionable hitbox though in very certain spots. Like when he starts his charge, he sort of leaps, and if you're behind him or under him as he leaps, you're going to get hit by nothing, which does kind of suck at times. The tail spin attack after his charge has active hitboxes on his paws and stuff, so if you're anywhere near the side of him and you try to dodge the tail spin, you're going to get hit by a paw first. And if you dodge the paw, you're going to get hit by the tail. You can't be too close to him when he does it, it doesn't work. You have to be far enough away that you only get touched by the tail and then roll through that. And his rocks are odd. They seek you out more, it feels. It's not a set spacing and angle like previous games, it's a lot scarier now. Other than that though, his hitboxes are pretty tight. All of his bites and turns and claws felt pretty good. I fought him more than just about any other monster just because he was just really scary and fun. Getting 2-hit KO also keeps you on the edge. Some people think he's too slow compared to his older forms, but I don't think so. This is a different game, we move at different paces, it felt good and that's all that matters, right? Speaking of felt good though, Nargacuga. Oh my god, he's probably my favorite monster to fight in World right now. It sucks trying to get him to spawn though, but once you do, just go play at him for a few hours. His model is gorgeous, it reflects in the light, it gets wet in the water, it looks so good. His hitboxes are all super tight too, it feels amazing to dodge through his stuff. Sometimes I feel like they're too forgiving, but ultimately that's not a bad thing. It definitely encourages you to dance through them. A small addition they had with Nargacuga was that now when he does his tail spike volley, those spikes stay on the ground for a little bit, and if you step on them, it cuts up your feet and you get bleed status. When I first stepped on those, I was laughing so flippin' hard just because it made sense and it was a nice touch. It was amazing. It didn't feel janky or lame or anything like some of Lunastra's bullshit. Oh, it was just awesome. I love Nargacuga. Okay, enough gushing over the monsters. Let's get into the weapons. Yes, there are pretty significant changes across the board, but ultimately it doesn't matter. It's just a game, things are going to change, so let's start with the obvious. Bow. 1,000 Dragons is kind of clunky to use. Well, any Clutch Claw attacks range is kind of clunky to use, but you have to aim with L2, press R3 to go to the slinger, and then press triangle and circle to do 1,000 Dragons. It feels kind of bad, especially trying to do it in the middle of a combo. It doesn't work all that well. The damage of it's pretty damn solid though, and it gets even crazier with slinger ammo equipped. I'm sure everyone has seen what Pierce ammo does with it. It's just nutty. It even gets boosted by special ammo boost, which is a pretty nice touch. It does have crazy recoil though, so it'll be far more situational compared to Power Shot. Bow also received pretty massive nerfs though. Its raw and element motion value were hampered pretty good. Comparatively with the PC version with the same raw and element, you hit for about 4 damage less per shot, which is pretty significant on things like Rapid 3 and Spread 4, where you have 3 to 6 arrows. That's like 12 to 24 damage lost per shot, and it adds up pretty quick. The rocks also received a bit of a nerf. The KO capacity on them is nowhere near as good as it used to be. It took me 3 fully charged rocks to get a KO on Tigrex for the first time, and that is just nonsense. When you think right now 1 can do Kushala, Rathalos, Legiana, stuff like that, typically it's just 1, maybe a couple rocks more. So that's a pretty big nerf. Constitution may have gotten nerfed too. The Japan version of the beta shows Constitution capping out at 30%, whereas the US version still shows it at 50%. I'm not really sure about that one, we'll have to just see. But here's the thing though, the bow needed a nerf, everyone knows it. It's way too strong as it is, so it's not unjustified. I'm not complaining, I've been asking for nerfs forever, so it is what it is. We'll see how it behaves with full bow gear, just because the beta kind of had garbage equipment anyway. I'm not too worried about it, just let it slide. Heavy bowgun. It's kind of impossible to tell where heavy bowgun's gonna be, since they gave us a bowgun that could use literally every ammo, and that's just not realistic. They also shot very poorly, like everything had recoil and slow reload. It's just awful. What we did get to try out though were some special ammo mods. The Wyvern Snipe special ammo makes it do 1 single hit rather than that Pierce explosion that it used to. It's great for sleep bombing since the initial impact doesn't deal any damage, but all the damage is on the detonation. I think I shot a sleeping Tigrex for over 1200 damage in the demo with it. I can only imagine what kind of silly numbers we're going to be looking at when we have an actual good set. The Wyvern Heart mod makes it ramp up faster. It only took 20 hits to reach full damage capacity compared to 25 currently. It also boosts the damage pretty significantly. Without the mod, Wyvern Heart hits for 41 damage at its peak, but with the mod it was hitting for 51. So it seems pretty solid. I mean, I already love Wyvern Heart setups, so I can't wait to see what we can do with the empowered version. Now we also got a scope mod, which is kind of a mixed bag. On one hand, it's crazy strong. When you're in super critical distance, it's 30% more damage. Getting those hits in when you're in crit distance just feels nutty. The problem is that it's clunky, like most of the new stuff. Again, you have to hold down L2 to aim, hold down R1 to adjust the scope, use the right analog to move it up and down the, change the position of the scope, fire with R2, and then walk with the left analog. So you're holding down like 5 buttons to use this thing. It just feels bad. And trying to adjust it up and down on the fly while the monster's moving isn't gonna happen. Even on a down monster, when its head is moving back and forth, it messes up with that tight window you have with the scope. It's just not fun to use. Unfortunately, I think it'll be best utilized with spread since you're sitting at point blank anyway. There's no real adjustments that you need to make with the scope, so yeah, scope shotgun is probably going to be meta, unless we get something else that's better than spread. Speaking of, we didn't get to use the new mods that did affect Pierce, crit distance, and travel speeds, so we have no idea what the other MOs are going to be like in the full game. We didn't get to use any of the MOs very well in the beta since everything had bad recoil and bad reloads, and we didn't have any new combinations of things like rapid fire slice, sticky, or pierce. We had no auto load spread 3 or auto load anything good. I think there's a lot of potential for new ammo combinations, we just didn't really get to see anything. So speaking of ammo, we do have a lot of ammo nerfs and buffs. Normal 3's got a slight buff to damage, like 5% maybe, it's like 1 motion value higher. Pierce 3 also got stronger, looks like 1 more motion value, which is actually really good on Pierce. Sticky 2's and Sticky 3's got a pretty sizable buff, it's like 15-20%, so the damage is actually not too bad at them. The KO feels about the same though. Elemental got a buff too. It looks fairly small, like 10% damage, but if the training pool has a 25 elemental value now, like some people claim, then it could be much higher. Elemental also works a little differently now. It seems that it can't jump gaps in the pierce. Like if you shoot down the head to the tail of a monster, yeah, you'll pierce it down that way. But if you try to go from arm to head or head to feet, and there's some air in between there, it won't pierce. I noticed it a lot on Tigrex. If you shoot from the side and try to go from the arm to the face, it will never pierce the arm and hit the face. But arm to body to arm across the side of him does go through. It's kind of weird. Clusters also got a huge nerf. Not only did they get a damage nerf about 10% or so, but we also lost combines. We can only carry 5 bomb berries now rather than 10, so you only get 8 clusters instead of 13. So bye bye cluster builds. There's no way you're going to get through a hunt with clusters alone now. Also, clusters can only activate on the downward end of the arc, which doesn't seem like a big deal, but not being able to point blank detonate clusters is really going to suck, because now you have to wait 2 to 3 seconds for them to fly up at the peak and then detonate on the way down, and we're not going to be able to just get quick topples with it anymore, so that's bad. Again though, I think it's a justifiable nerf. Clusters were pretty crazy. Granted, I don't think many people were actually using them anymore, since Glutton is, well, Glutton. I think they're nerfing clusters a bit too hard though, since they're going full slicing nerf on it. Damage decrease and an ammo decrease seems like a bit too much. All they really needed to do was get rid of Spare Shot, or make Spare Shot not pull ammo from the ether and just let it consume ammo in the clip and keep ammo in the reserves, so you didn't have silly chains of like 6 clusters in a clip too. That's how it used to work in the previous games. I don't understand it. Spare Shot change would have fixed a lot of the Bowgun issues rather than nerfing ammo, but you know, it's not my game. Granted, we don't know if Spare Shot didn't get changed, because obviously it's not in the beta, but if it did get nerfed on top of the cluster nerfs, then holy crap, that's going to be bad. The rest of the ammos are pretty much unchanged. I didn't see any crit distance changes or anything like that, so you know, that's all for that stuff. So for light bowgun, hands down is the best weapon in the beta for me. Well, I mean, I only played like 4 weapons. I take that back. Hunting Horn's the best weapon. You heard it here first. Hunting Horn's best weapon, then light bowgun. So, hands down, landmines. Oh my god, these things do so much damage. So they tick for about the same as detonating a landmine 3 times with, you know, 2 mediums and a large blast, except that you can just chuck it at the monster. They're great because they're efficient and you're actively using them rather than just dumping them on the ground to get rid of them from the get-go. I do like the current landmines for setup, but these new ones are going to be great for dunks and charging monsters. I'm glad this is a mod so we can freely change it between the bowguns and won't get stuck with the heavy bowgun situation where we have half the weapons with one special ammo and the other half with another. The other mod we had to use was the slide to reload one, which is not that fun for me. I'm not a fan of it. As we thought, it can be equipped multiple times, so one mod reloads 1 ammo on the slide, 2 does 2, and so on and so on. But this is just eating up mod slots that we're already starved for. Even if we get more slots, I can't see using this over recoil, close range, reload, wyvern mods, or any of the new mods we have. So the problem with it is that you have to do it after a shot, and you have to do a roll and then a slide. You can't slide from neutral, and it has to be after a shot, which isn't always safe, so if you don't do it on the last round of your clip, well, you're going to have to manually reload anyway. Plus, if we get bigger mag sizes, it's going to take multiple reloads to max it, or it's going to take multiple mods to max it, and it's just going to be a waste of time or DPS. It's meh. It looks cool on paper, but if it was just roll to reload like Sergio's weapons in previous games, it would just be much better. I don't really care for it right now, but we'll have to see what kind of bowguns we get. What else? Oh, we had rapid fire recoil 1 elemental light bowguns, which felt fantastic. All rapid fire elemental ammo in World has recoil 2 at best with 3 recoil mods, and these had recoil 1 with just 1 recoil mod. So here's hoping we get more of that. It made elemental feel so much better. Okay, the Crutch Claw. I was super critical when I first saw this in the trailers for Iceborne, as you may all know, because I don't use a slinger, I didn't want more slinger stuff, and I didn't want all the weapons to only get slinger moves. However, the beta made me a believer. It's great. It's clunky to use for gunner, but even so, I like it. Softening up parts for more damage feels pretty dynamic and makes you think about the fight a lot more, especially for gunner, because on Nargacuga, the only weak spot a gunner has is the tail, so you have to soften up the face to make it worthwhile. The Slinger Burst is also great. Even though I don't use it, I'm glad it exists. Just being able to throw monsters left and right looks really cool. Just in general, it feels good to use on monsters. I still can't believe with the emphasis they put on the Slinger ammo like this, that we would still have to sheath to pick up Slinger ammo. It seems kinda odd. But whatevers. You can currently spam Clutch Claw attacks with Rocksteady or some other weapons that get hyper armor with it, but it's certainly not going to be an issue. It doesn't feel optimal in any way, so it's just going to be another tool we have, which is actually just fine. That's what we need, more tools. So that's basically it, I think. I had a lot of fun with the beta, and it made me hyped, which is exactly what it was supposed to do. So yeah, it got me. I apologize for being so negative and critical in the weapons trailers, but this has certainly changed my mind of Slinger and all the extra little add-ons. Even with the nerfs, I had way too much fun to care about being meta and all that other crazy shit. You know, I did do speedruns even though I said I wouldn't. We all wanted a much harder game anyways, right? So we'll see what it's like on launch, which is like, what, 10 weeks away? Oh my god. Anyway, thank you all for watching, and good luck out there, hunters, in whatever you may be hunting.